Hello everyone, as I continue my sci-fi movie reviews of September, this video is a bonus for the month. It's a little bit off topic. This year marks the 30th anniversary when Batman the Animated Series first aired on September 5th, 1992. You all remember this past year I reviewed almost every Batman live-action movie from Keaton to the most recent Robert Pattinson Batman film. Didn't review the 1966 Adam West Batman movie because that doesn't really count as part of a series Batman movie. Batman the Animated Series is one of my all-time favorite personal things of Batman, of all like Batman adaptations and comic books. To me, the show was perfect. Great stories, great voice acting, perfect dialogue, and of course, Kevin Conroy as Batman. Anytime to this day when I still read the comic books, to me, his voice, he is Batman. In today's video, I'll be reviewing and talking about my favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes. It's hard to pick a top 10. There are so many great episodes. It could have been a top 100, but that's impossible. It would take me to split the videos into 4 or 5 videos. So let's keep it simple. As I said before, this year marks the 30th anniversary of Batman the Animated Series, so this will be my top 30 favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes. As usual, a little disclaimer here. Don't take my list personal how I rank these episodes. I love all these episodes no matter how I rank them. I will also include some episodes from the New Adventures of Batman, despite the new design and its arguable debatable if you would count that as part of the series and canon. Well, if it has Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill's Batman the Joker, and it was done by Bruce Timm, why not? And as much as I love Master of the Phantasm and Sub-Zero, they will not be part of this video. Those will be separate reviews. Love them, can't forget about them, not included in today's video because those are movies of longer episodes based on the series. Some honorable mentions go to Deep Freeze, Harley Quinn, Mudslide, Sins of the Father, The Clock King, Pretty Poison, Legends of the Dark Knight, Batgirl, Bane, Harley's Holiday, Shadow of a Bat, all the Riddler episodes, If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich, What Is Reality? This episode in a way predicted virtual reality. It was like a PG version of Videodrome of the animated series. Riddler's Reform, Make 'Em Laugh, The Laughing Fish, Mad as a Hatter, Eternal Youth. I'm probably missing other episodes for honorable mentions, I apologize. All great episodes. Maybe someday in the future I'll do like solo reviews on these for the channel. Number 30. The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne. We start with the list with The Strange Secret of Bruce Wayne. Bruce goes on a vacation to investigate why Judge Vargas was being blackmailed for a videotape she wanted to avoid the press to see and have her personal secret being exposed and ruin her reputation. This was the first time I learned who Dr. Hugo Strange was, because prior to this, I had never read about him in any comic books until after this episode. Bruce goes to one of his therapy sessions. Hugo Strange finds out Bruce Wayne's secret that he is Batman. Bruce discovers how Hugo Strange's creation machine can really go deep into your thoughts, deep darkest secrets, and that Strange blackmails his patients. It's cool to see Joker, Two-Face, and the Penguin show up and team up for the first time in the show when they believe Strange has a tape to show and prove to them who Batman really is. First criminal team-up of the series. Just when you thought they were going to find out Batman's real secret identity, Bruce switched the tapes up to protect his secret identity. Imagine if Two-Face found out the truth that Bruce Wayne is Batman, the series went in that direction. It would have been very different for the series. Two-Face would have hated Batman 10 times more, would have wanted revenge against Bruce for failing to save him. Because early in the series, Bruce and Wayne and Harvey Dent were best friends and close. This episode is based on Detective Comics number 471 and 472. I never read that comic. I'd like to check it out at some point to see how it's different from this episode. In a way, when you think about it, this episode is almost similar, identical to Batman Forever, where the Riddler reads brain manipulation, reading people's minds, in a similar way how the Riddler found out Batman's real secret identity. Great twist at the end, won't spoil it, give it a watch how Batman protects his identity from the world. Number 29. Judgment Day. This episode is part of the New Adventures of Batman, which came out right after the animated series came to an end in 1995. In 1997, Bruce Timm continued the series with the same cast, the same premise, the same format, but redesigned the characters in the series. Instead of Dick Grayson as Robin, he's Nightwing, he's all grown up. And Tim Drake is the new Robin. The New Adventures of Batman is considered a hit or miss. It may not top the animated series, but there was still some good stuff, and did have some value to offer. I mean, yes, I can agree that some of the redesigns are not the best and hit or miss here and there. And yeah, the Joker does like Mickey Mouse, as Nostalgia Critic pointed out. I do like the Batman redesign logo with the all Batman black logo, and no yellow on the outside. I'll talk about the other good redesigns later in this video. This is the last episode of the series. In this episode, an anti-hero called the Judge goes around killing Batman's enemies, thinking they are better off dead, thinking that jail is not where they belong. The Judge thinks Batman's methods have not worked. It has a great twist ending, finding out who the Judge was that you did not see coming, and you'll be shocked and surprised who the Judge was behind the mask. As a kid, I was shocked. I won't spoil it. Give it a watch. As a kid watching this episode on TV on a rerun, I was desperate to rewatch this episode because of how cool it was with its great twist ending and the third personality disorder. But at the time, the show was not available on DVD, and at the time, it was not even available to buy or rent on a VHS tape. So I had to wait until it was finally released on the DVD set collection in the mid-2000s. Number 28. Blind as a bat. Batman loses his eyesight. The good news is it's not a serious condition as he thought it was. He can make a full recovery, but the bad news is he has to take some time off as Batman. This frustrates Batman. Batman tries to find a way to come up with a computer virtual eyes glasses in order to stop the Penguin in fighting crime. This episode was very interesting, an idea and a great concept that made you think, what would happen if Batman fought crime as a blind man, almost similar to how Daredevil is blind and he can't see? It's another example of showing that Batman is human and not invincible. Number 27. Joker's Wild. This one was a comedy made for laughs. Some businessman creates a casino after the Joker. This makes the Joker mad and insulted. He fakes being sick and escapes Arkham. I love the opening when Joker and Poison Ivy argue and fight like a married couple. And Joker does Looney Tune cartoon voice of that, the one with the bird. Batman finds out the man who built the casino wants the Joker destroyed so he can collect the insurance money. When Batman tells the Joker he may hate him for being honest and standing up for him, but the Joker will destroy the casino anyway for the sake of it. This is another example of how the Joker is being Batman's yang opposite. As I'm editing this video, I forgot to mention I thought it was funny how when Joker's at the casino and mistaken thinking that he was an employee, it's funny how he runs into Bruce Wayne. He says, "Hey, you look familiar." It's funny how the Joker does not recognize that Bruce Wayne is Batman. When Bruce Wayne says that if he was an employee at the casino seeing too many clowns, he'd go crazy, and the Joker tries to keep his cool. Number 26. Feet of Clay. The premise of this episode, Matt Hagen had a filming accident that ruined and damaged his face. Hagen worried that his career was over because of his face was badly damaged during the accident. Roland Daggett offers Matt Hagen a skin cream that can help fix his face up despite it's only a temporary fix. Hagen becomes addicted to the cream. Matt Hagen helps Roland Daggett frame Bruce Wayne. Batman proves for himself, proving Bruce Wayne was innocent, not responsible for assaulting and attacking Lucius Fox. With no more of the cream, Matt Hagen tries to sneak into Daggett's factory to steal more of the cream. Daggett's thugs overdose him with the cream and Hagen becomes Clayface. Just like Hugo Strange, this was another Batman villain that I was not familiar with until I saw this episode on TV as a little kid. Matt Hagen Clayface was voiced by famous character actor Ron Perlman, who went on to play Hellboy, another comic book character, and has done a lot of great things in movies, TV shows, and a legendary voice actor. Despite Hagen a bad guy, we feel bad and see how Hagen is another misunderstood character. All he wanted to do was to be a famous movie star and fix his damaged face to have a long acting career. We also see how being Clayface gets to him, alters and changes his personality, and negatively impacts his relationship with his friend, how he did not need him anymore. When Batman tries to stop Clayface, this is a tough challenge. Not even his Batrobe cannot capture Clayface. The final showdown when Batman uses VHS tape to remind Hagen that he can be the same person again, with time and patience and help. Despite Clayface transforming any shape or anyone, he wants to return back into Matt Hagen again. Seeing all those movie roles he once played is his weakness. He can't control and decide if he wants to be himself or another one of his movie characters. Great episode and a classic sad tragedy for Clayface. Number 25. World's Finest. This episode was on Superman the Animated Series in the same continuity as the New Adventures of Batman. But like I said, you will see a few episodes of these on the list. This was what Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice should have been. Take notes on that, Zack Snyder, and watch this episode. The Joker has his kryptonite he wants to kill Superman with. Batman goes to Metropolis to warn Superman about the Joker's plan. In this episode, I like how Batman and Superman are not friends. They put their differences aside. They do fight briefly, but it's nothing crazy. Minor misunderstanding and how Batman and Superman, complete opposites and styles of crime fighting, are different from each other. Just because they did work together somewhat okay does not mean Batman is a team player and does not believe in partners and still works alone. Clancy Brown as Lex Luthor makes me wish this is what Lex Luthor's portrayal should have been like in Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. Not sure if however the Joker is right for the job and thinks the Joker is a lousy choice to kill Superman, where he can't even kill Batman. Lois falls for Bruce, and this makes Clark Kent Superman jealous, but when she finds out Bruce Wayne is Batman, she cannot take the risk of being a girlfriend of someone who goes out fighting crime and worrying about if he would be okay. Unlike Superman, who is invincible, Batman is not invincible. She thought Bruce was her chance of falling in love with someone who was not a superhero wearing a mask, a cape, or a costume. The part when Batman is chased by a robot was crazy and suspenseful. I love the chemistry between Batman and Superman. This tops Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. No comparison, no doubt whatsoever. If you watch Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice and feel disappointed and let down, put this on for a rebound and for a breath of fresh air, wishing, why did they not use this idea for the movie? Number 24. Joker's Millions. This was based on a comic book from the 1950s. The Joker inherits millions of dollars from a mob boss who died, that he hated, and yet somehow he still inherited his money. After owing money to the IRS, the money the Joker finds out the money he inherited was fake and only had some real money that he spent on so fast. He watches a video finding out that the mob boss tricked him, that it was all a joke. This was another episode that had some funny humor, funny moments. When Harley and Joker run away from Batman and the cops, the Joker presses the eject button and Harley's like, "Hey, where's mine?" And Joker responds, "Sorry, kiddo, I can only afford one." Instead of the Joker bailing out Harley Quinn, the Joker orders a mail-order bride because it was cheaper. It's funny when he rejects each one until he finds the right Harley Quinn look-alike. He rejects a big overweight guy. As a kid, I did not get that joke. When he picks out the right Harley Quinn look-alike, he jokes to himself, "I should have hired the fat guy." In a way, this episode could have been on the 60s Batman TV show, the way this episode was done. After losing all the money, being arrested, and going back to Arkham, Harley disguised herself as a police officer to beat the crap out of him for not using his money to bail her out of Arkham. Number 23. Harley and Ivy. One way of describing this episode is Thelma and Louise. Harley Quinn tries going solo on her own after when the Joker dumps her. She meets Poison Ivy, they team up and start their own partnership. I love the chemistry between these two. They felt like sisters. This episode made the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy friendship chemistry popular, and has continued to be done in comic books and other adaptations of cartoons going on today. But despite Harley's happy for a new career in crime and partners with Poison Ivy, deep down Harley is homesick and misses the Joker despite how mean and abusive he is towards her. I love how Poison Ivy tells her to move on, not to take abuse from the Joker. This episode was the first hint of Harley and Joker's relationship before what we see later on in the series, that it was toxic and not good. Batman is more of an antagonist in this episode and took a backseat. This was one of Paul Dini's best episodes he ever wrote on the series, as it contributed to a lot of other Harley and Ivy friendship storylines in comic books. In recent years, there was a Harley and Ivy TV show cartoon which I have yet to see. People tell me it's good and would like to check it out at some point. This episode was way better than the 2020 Birds of Prey movie with Margot Robbie. That movie tried way too hard. This one doesn't. It's simple, straightforward, clever, fun, and does not disappoint. Again, if you feel disappointed after watching Birds of Prey, give this a watch for another rebound. Number 22. House and Garden. I know I should be talking about Pretty Poison. I do like that episode, but out of all the Poison Ivy episodes, this one is my favorite. This episode was like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This episode is really whacked and messed up. Pamela Isley claims she has been cured and marries the doctor who cured her and is a stepmom to her husband's kids. Batman does not believe her and is skeptical on Poison Ivy giving up on crime. When Dick Grayson is kidnapped by one of the plant monsters, after saving Dick Grayson, Robin tells him that Carlisle was one of his teachers that he had at the university and that he was divorced, and that his kids are girls, not boys. Big twist right there. When Batman and Robin save the real Carlisle, it's really disturbing and crazy in seeing how the plant baby monsters come to life. Really horrifying. In a way, it was like something out of a sci-fi B-movie to some degree. It's even crazy to say that it's a sad ending for Poison Ivy. When she gets away and Batman stopped the copy instead of the real Poison Ivy, Batman finally believes her on wanting a normal life, seeing her on a plane crying, wishing she did have that normal life. Before I move on, Pretty Poison, great episode of the series, but it's only a basic intro origin story of Poison Ivy. She dates Harvey Dent and tries to kill him before he was Two-Face at the time. Number 21. Robin's Reckoning. This is one of my favorite Robin moments in the series and throughout other, Robin comic books or other adaptations of Robin. This episode did better justice on Robin's origin story compared to Batman Forever. They also got it right who really killed Robin's parents. It was Tony Zuko, not Two-Face. This explores Robin's origin, how he was a circus performer. After the death of his parents, Bruce adopts Dick Grayson, and we all know what happens. Bruce sees the death of Robin's parents reminds him of his past. He has this strong special bond and connection to Dick Grayson. He understands his pain and wanting revenge for the man who killed his parents. Bruce trains Dick Grayson and becomes Robin. Robin finally finds the man who was responsible for murdering his parents. Batman wants him out knowing what Robin wants revenge. Thomas F. Wilson, who played Biff in Back to the Future, does a great job as the voice of Tony Zuko. He is a real bastard in this episode. He doesn't show any remorse, and he doesn't care about anybody but himself. This two-part episode told in flashbacks to the present moment. The way Robin's origin story is done and told is like a tribute to Bob Kane and Bill Finger when Robin made his debut in Detective Comic Books number 38, 1940. Robin saves Batman after he breaks his bone. Robin comes face to face with Tony Zuko just when you think Robin was going to drop Zuko and kill him to get his revenge. Batman helps Robin come to his senses, realizing killing Zuko was not going to solve and bring his parents back. Not only that, Batman was scared and worried about losing Robin in the end. They forgive each other and make peace. Just comes to show no matter what happens, Batman and Robin can work it out and put their differences aside and still be friends no matter what. Number 20. Moon of the Wolf. Holy cow, this episode was like a Batman horror episode. It was also a metaphor on why athletes and bodybuilders should never take steroids, the dangers and side effects of steroids. This is what a Universal Monsters Wolfman meets Batman would look like if they made something like that. This is one of the most underrated episodes of the series that don't get talked about a lot. As I get older, this episode gets better for me with age, and something I appreciate more compared to when I was a little kid watching this. Give it a watch, you have to see it to believe. You'll be shocked and awe in a good way how, awesome this episode is, and, why is this episode not talked about a lot? Number 19. I Am the Night, It's Never Too Late, An Appointment in Crime Alley. This one will talk about 3 episodes I love combined together. There's no well-known villain Batman fight. He faces regular gang criminals with no alias villain names. And each one brings a different, unique perspective these episodes. In I Am the Night, Commissioner Gordon was shot by a gangster. Batman is mad, furious, and thinking he should give up crime, thinking he's doing more harm than good protecting people he cares about. For the rest, he's putting them in as Batman. Batman also sees it as history repeating itself, thinking about his parents' murder, especially how Gordon getting shot happened on the anniversary of his parents' death the same night. Thinking that he will lose Gordon, someone he has trusted as a good cop when he started fighting crime from the beginning. It shows how Batman has his insecurities, self-doubt, and worries about losing others he loves and cares about. It also shows how Batman has his moments of wanting to quit, but we all know what will happen and which direction this goes in when Batman gives up crime when he thinks he's going to give up. And it's never too late. This felt like an anti-drug episode, but obviously the moral of this episode is don't do drugs. It's the human side of gangster Strongwell. This episode got away with things you would not see in today's cartoons compared to the 90s. Strongwell's drug-addicted son going through withdrawals and rehab. Batman saying the word drugs. Or whenever the Strongwell sees something that triggers his past, how it still haunts him to this day no matter how old he gets. In a way, this episode has similar elements to Angels with Dirty Faces. You had 2 friends growing up. One became a gangster, the other one became a priest. The message of this episode shows how it's never too late to change or redeem yourself of your past mistakes. Very powerful message for a 90s kids TV show at that time. I love how Batman shows Strongwell his mistakes, and Strongwell comes to his senses. Not only does Batman help Strongwell, his childhood friend that he grew up with who became a priest, wished that he could give up on him, but tries once again to help him. I don't want to give too much away. Watch the episode and realize that it's never too late to watch this episode. Watching this episode as an adult, you realize how it's very more adult-oriented compared to understanding it as a little kid to as an adult. Appointment in Crime Alley. This episode was based on a comic book from Detective Comics number 457 from 1976. Again, Dr. Leslie Thompson was another character I was not familiar with in the comic books. I never read about her in the comic books until after I saw this episode on the DVD set. Learned that Bruce has seen her since he was a little boy after his parents' murder, and it makes sense. Batman was traumatized from being a witness seeing his parents murdered that night right in front of his eyes and required a lot of years of therapy. And that Leslie Thompson was the first people that comforted Bruce after his parents' murder. This was the first episode we saw her in, and we saw her a few more times throughout the rest of the series. In recent years, Miranda Baccarin, as you all know from Deadpool, played Leslie Thompson on the recent TV show Gotham, also the voice of Talia al Ghul in a few Batman animated films. This is an episode that reflects on the rich getting richer and the low class disappearing. Very relatable in today's society in some ways when you think about it when watching this episode today. Roland Dagger wants to destroy a neighborhood that has died down the last few years. He wants to set up a bomb in the building to destroy it and make it like an accident. But unfortunately, people still live there, but Dagger does not care, thinking that killing them, destroying the neighborhood will solve the problem and create a new neighborhood. Batman was supposed to meet Leslie Thompson for an appointment for the anniversary of his parents' death. She is kidnapped by Roland Daggett's gang because she knows Daggett's plan. She's trapped in a building where a bomb could go off at any moment. We are left in suspense on the edge of our seat, rooting for Batman to save Leslie from dying. Batman saves Leslie in the neighborhood, but does not bring Daggett to justice. Daggett gets away in the end. I love the ending of this episode where they are walking down memory lane, Batman puts a flower down, and once again, Leslie again comforts him in the same way she did when he was a little boy after that horrific night. One of the best ending episodes of the series. Number 18. Heart of Steel. One way of describing this episode, the Terminator, Blade Runner, and 2001 A Space Odyssey meets Batman. Ironically, the actor who played Sebastian in Blade Runner is in this episode. Back in June, I did a review of Blade Runner. Go check that out. Link in the description. It's good they split this episode into 2 parts. This would not have worked as a one episode with so much detail. There was so much going on in this episode. They might as well would have made it like a movie instead. Part 1 is the intro and sets up for Part 2 finale, when Batman starts Hardak from taking over the world and destroying mankind. This was Barbara Gordon's first episode before she was Batgirl. She plays an important role in this 2-part episode. She's not in it for 5 minutes and that's it. When she knows and suspects that the robot is not her father, she asks Batman for help and Batman agrees to help her. I love how this was her like pre-Batgirl and first time using her detective skills before she is Batgirl. This sets up her future as Batgirl. Hardak in a way resembles the HAL 9000 from 2001 A Space Odyssey. And just like the HAL 9000, he wants to destroy humans and have robots take over the world. Just like Blade Runner, the robots are somewhat like replicants. When Hardak kidnaps people, he replaces them as the AI robots. People debate about Part 2 of this episode not being as good as Part 1. I can see why, but I like Part 2. Batman fights the robot. It's like they made Batman versus the Terminator. And this is how it would be done if they did something like that. In fact, I hope someday, like Elseworld Comics or someone will make a Batman vs. the Terminator comic book. That would be a cool and awesome comic. It would be cool to see Batman fight Terminators of his friends and loved ones. Not to get off topic, it was funny when Batman comes back to his Batcave with one of his broken backlighters, and Alfred comments, "I do wish you were not so rough on your toys, Master Bruce." He says like a father gets mad at his kid for not being careful playing with his toys, or after when he breaks his toys. Number 17. Never fear. Despite that I mentioned earlier that the new Batman Adventures was hit or miss, and some of the redesigns were not consistent, not well done, at least in this episode, the Scarecrow redesigns was one of the best redesigns out of all of them. The Scarecrow was voiced by Jeffrey Combs, who you may know as Dr. Herbert West in the Reanimator horror movie based on the H.P. Lovecraft short story. It stinks they did not bring him back, and this is the only time he voiced the Scarecrow in the series. He did however voice the Scarecrow in a video game, Batman Rise of Sin Tzu, but I'm not sure he considered that canon or not. Also, luckily he came back on Justice League Unlimited as the voice of the Question, who looks identical to Rorschach from The Watchmen. I love how this episode sends a message that when not being afraid and being overconfident has its disadvantages, and overconfidence, surprisingly, not being afraid is a bad thing, that a little fear is not a bad thing. It was also interesting and different than what we're used to with the Scarecrow, trying to put fear in people, but instead makes his victims overconfident with no fear. We're used to seeing the Scarecrow use his fear toxin to scare his victims. Number 16. The Man Who Killed Batman. This episode is told from the point of view of a criminal called Sid the Squid telling Rupert Thorne how he killed Batman. Sid the Squid is voiced by Matt Brewer. This is another episode with great music and dialogue, and another great episode where Batman is not in it that much, when we are led to believe that he is dead, and yet this episode still worked with Batman not being around this episode that much. When Sid the Squid's criminal friends think he killed Batman, the underground world worship him, thinking that he is a legend for killing the Batman, thinking without Batman gone, crime will be easy and better. Some criminals are not convinced and thinking that a guy like Sid the Squid, who is not physically strong, looks too smart to take down the Batman. When the Joker shows up at first, he's happy and glad Batman is gone, but when the Joker is robbing a bank, he's waiting for Batman to show up and realize crime is not fun anymore without Batman. Without Batman, crime has no punchline! In a dark, funny, weird way, the Joker is sad Batman is gone. The Joker gives a funeral and a eulogy and is kind of sad, heartbroken, a little hilarious, and explosive whoopee cushion. And after he killed Sid, he goes, "Wow, that was fun. Anyone for Chinese?" It shows that without Batman, the Joker is nothing, and no matter what, the Joker needs Batman. It's different what you're used to seeing the Joker. It's funny, sad in a weird way. Spoilers right here, Batman is alive and did not die.
Number 15.
The Demon's Quest. This one was based on a comic book, Batman number 272 in 1971, written by the late Dennis O'Neil, who wrote this episode from Ra's al Ghul's early years in the Batman comic books back in the 1970s, and back when Batman comic books were going back to its darker roots. This episode was like Indiana Jones and Aladdin as a live-action adventure episode. Ra's al Ghul is voiced by veteran British actor David Warner. May he rest in peace. You might recognize him from Titanic as Billy Zane's right-hand man. This was not the first time we saw Ra's al Ghul on the show. He had a small cameo in the episode Off Balance, setting up for this episode. Unlike Batman Begins, Ra's al Ghul, he was a regular person, not an immortal ancient older human. This version of Ra's al Ghul was the proper portrayal in the show, like in the comic books. Even though I think this is a great episode, but it's not a big twist who the villain is behind kidnapping Robin. When you watch this, you don't have to overthink or analyze or put too much logic into it. I love part 2 where Batman and Ra's al Ghul sword fight each other till the death. I won't spoil it, give it a watch. It's awesome, it's epic. One of the best showdowns in the TV series.
Number 14.
Trial. This episode was like the pre-Batman Arkham video games. Batman is put on trial by the criminals blaming Batman being responsible for creating his enemies, and Batman is being defended by a DA agent lawyer who does not like Batman. What I really love about this episode is how when hearing each villain's point of view of blaming Batman, you could argue debate on if Batman is the one responsible to blame, or should they be blaming themselves for their action responsibilities, that Batman is not responsible for their actions of turning them into criminals. It may be a rushed episode, but it's still a great episode and a classic, and a most important one to watch of the series. As I said before, this is how you have this DEA agent, Janet Van Dorn, who wants to take down Batman, yet when she defends him at the trial with the criminals, she comes to realize even without Batman, they still would have ended up as criminals, even if Batman did not exist. It was rumored this episode was supposed to be an animated movie, but instead they made Master of the Phantasm instead, which could have been cool. I could see this episode as a 1 hour and 20 minute episode with so much to go into for this. But who knows, it could still happen. They made that stupid Batman Harley Quinn animated movie. Why not this concept into a longer animated film?
Number 13.
Birds of a Feather. In this episode, Batman stops the Penguin from robbing an art museum. The Penguin does his time in jail and he's released from prison, and the Penguin vows to change and to stop doing crime no more. The Penguin does his best and keeps his promise, being done with crime. The Penguin dates rich woman Veronica Freeland. Her and her best friend Piers want to make a joke out of the Penguin. As I get older watching this episode, I feel bad for the Penguin. He really wanted to change and stop fighting crime. This episode humanizes the Penguin, my favorite episode of the Penguin the series, but Batman is still on to think he will go back to his old roots. The character Piers was such an asshole and a dick. He's portrayed like any stereotypical rich jerk who looks down upon the people. He will do anything to humiliate anyone like the Penguin to make him a laughing stock, and to get his rates up by dating a beautiful woman named Veronica who is way out of his league. Despite Veronica's original plan, she does start to fall for the Penguin, but I don't know why. I still found her to be kind of a bitch sometimes at certain moments. But she does admit to the Penguin that she really was growing fond of him despite her original plan. Not to get off topic again, the part when the Penguin and Veronica are at the opera, this was the first time I ever heard the opera Pagliacci, and it was my intro to opera, which is a very famous opera, one of opera singer Luciano Pavarotti's well-known performances. I know, it's a little weird connection, making my connection how my first intro to opera was from Batman the Animated Series, but hey, We all find something somewhere and gotta start somewhere when we're introduced to something that's popular and well known.
Number 12.
Baby Doll. As a little kid growing up in the 2000s, my parents bought me the entire Batman the Animated Series for me on DVD. My thought and reaction was, Baby Doll? It sounded lame and stupid, but when I saw the episode, I was shocked, surprised how great it was. It's true they say, don't judge a title by the way it sounds. The episode is about a little former child actress who suffers from a rare genetic disorder where she looks like a kid, but she is older and is not age. You can think of this episode as like the pre-orphan meets whatever happened to Baby Jane. This episode reflects on what child actors have a hard time breaking their typecast. The ending is so sad. All she wanted to do was be a star, somebody special, brings joy and happiness and laughter to her fans and audiences. Also sad like what happens when she is forgotten and no one knows who she is. It's one of the saddest moments I ever saw as a little kid. It made me sad and cry inside out.
Number 11.
Over the Edge, this episode takes a lot of twists and turns. The Scarecrow kills Batgirl, Jim Gordon finds out the truth about Barbara was Batgirl all along, and he finds out the truth that Bruce Wayne is Batman. It has one of the best openings where the police are trying to arrest and shoot at Batman and Robin. Alfred saves Bruce from being shot and is arrested by the authorities. Nightwing is arrested, Bruce tells Tim to turn himself in and be adopted by another family. It's also crazy after all the work Jim Gordon and Batman did together and trusted each other. For once, Jim Gordon hires one of Batman's enemies to stop him so can he arrest him and bring Batman to justice. But Bane doesn't go through with Jim Gordon's plan and wants to kill Batman instead. This is one of the most intense action-packed episodes of the series. It's dark and brooding. As a kid watching this episode, a surprising twist no one saw coming. I'm not going to spoil it. Give it a watch and be shocked and awe and a jaw drop like, what? All I can say is it's a great like what if episode.
Number 10.
Two-Face. This is the best and true justice of telling you the true Two-Face origin story. In Batman Forever, they only show a small glimpse of Two-Face accident, but not done well. We see the whole origin story in this episode done right. Before Harvey Dent was Two-Face, Harvey Dent was a likable guy. He was good friends with Bruce Wayne, he was running for Gotham District Attorney, and was about to marry the love of his life. But after the accident, he wasn't the same person. Also after the accident, Batman has dreams of feeling guilt, grief for not saving Harvey Dent. And we see his parents show up in the dream saying, "Why couldn't you save us, son?" It's deja vu all over again. Even before the accident, it was interesting to see how like Harvey Dent had a multiple personality disorder before the accident, before he was Two-Face. We feel bad for Harvey Dent after the accident. We wanted Batman to help him save his life and bring his friend back to life and be normal again. Another example of sad tragedy showing how Two-Face was very humanized. Even after becoming a gangster, deep down there was still some Harvey inside him who wanted to see his fiancée again and be with her again. I don't want to give too much away in details. Go watch this episode, but this episode ranks as one of my top 10 favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes.
Number 9.
Nothing to Fear. This is a rare episode to make a list of favorite Batman the Animated Series episodes. It's one of the most underrated episodes. It was the first episode of The Scarecrow. Well, I'll admit, I do love the episode. My one minor complaint about this is the look of the Scarecrow was not the best design, but thankfully they changed his look later on as the series went on. I love its dark imagery, visuals, horror, and themes on what we fear the most. Seeing Batman's biggest fear of his father, thinking he failed and thinking he's shamed his family's legacy of his playboy image, that's something we can connect and relate to on a personal level, including me, but different, of course. I love when Batman is trying to stop the Scarecrow on a blip, and he tries to fight the fear toxins. One of my favorites I Am Batman moments, quote, "No, you are not my father. I am not a disgrace. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman." The moment he said that, fans were like, this man is the voice of Batman of the 90s and so forward. His pitch delivery was perfect, right on the money. I love the ending of this episode when Batman gives Dr. Crane his own medicine, puts the fear in him, and the fear bat illusion looks like the devil from Fantasia. Batman turns the Scarecrow over the authorities. It ends with Bruce visiting his family grave with no dialogue, putting flowers on their grave, letting his family know he will do better, never forget his promise to keep fighting crime. Walks away and you see the shadow of the bat. The music is right on track when Bruce walks away. It is perfect. On a side note, Some of the elements in this episode were probably used and could have been inspired for Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. Rewatch the episode, think twice, and analyze.
Number 8.
Beware the Great Ghost. It's weird saying how I'm not a fan of the 1960s Batman TV show and Adam West. This is one of the only few things I like that he did, because Adam West plays a fictional version of himself based on his real-life experience when he was typecast after the 60s Batman TV show came to an end, and how he had a hard time getting work after the show ended. In a way, the Great Ghost looks almost identical to the Shadow, which was an inspiration for Batman. I love the look of the 1940s like film noir, like the Great Ghost TV show like clips, and also like the movie poster like memorabilia that Simon Trent has in his apartment. It's funny how when Batman and Grey Ghost team up, Batman brings Grey Ghost to the Batcave and shows him his Grey Ghost collection, telling him he used to watch the show with his dad when he was a little kid, and that the Grey Ghost was his hero. In a way, when you think about it, Batman is a bit of a fanboy right here. It makes me wish if I could meet Kevin Conroy, tell him how much I loved this show as a kid growing up, and that Batman is and still my favorite comic book character this day and is my hero. Spoiler alert right here. If you have not seen this episode, stop the video right here. A minor complaint I have about this episode is a twist who the villain was. I'm not bothered that it's not one of Batman's well-known traditional villains. I just wish it could have been like maybe someone Simon Trent knew from the show, like some jealous actor, writer, producer, director, maybe his agent, for not taking for granted trying to break his typecast instead of some store clerk collector. The Toyman was voiced by Bruce Timm. I love the ending of this episode when Bruce goes to get an autograph signed by Simon Trent, telling him the same thing he told him as Batman, that he watched the Grey Ghost TV show as a kid with his dad, and that the Grey Ghost was his hero, and he still is. Same with me and Batman. Again, something I'd like to say to Kevin Conroy if I ever met him at Comic-Con.
Number 7.
Almost got him. In this episode, the Joker, the Penguin, Two-Face, Killer Croc, and Poison Ivy are playing a game of poker. No crime is planned. They are talking about stories of how they almost got and caught Batman, arguing to debate who came the closest. It's like if Quentin Tarantino directed a Batman movie. This is how he would open it up, with a conversation that would grab your attention to be drawn to these characters. I love when Croc tells his point of view story, says, "I threw a rock at him." They all look at him like, that doesn't sound close to getting Batman. He goes, "Well, it was a big rock." When you see the Joker's story point of view side, people point out the Joker doing a talk show host is like a reference and parody like Johnny Carson or other famous talk shows at that time. This is another episode that I don't want to give too much away or go into full details. Give it a watch and you'll be shocked and surprised and amazed how awesome this episode is.
Number 6.
Christmas with the Joker and Holiday Nights. It's crazy how these are episodes I watch every year around Christmas time for the fun of it. Some people say they watch Batman Returns around Christmas time, despite that it's not a traditional Christmas movie. Heck, why not these episodes too? Christmas with the Joker is a simple, straightforward episode story. The Joker escapes Arkham, Arkham kidnaps Jim Gordon, Harvey Bullock, and Summer Gleason. It's funny how the episode opens up at Arkham with the prisoner singing Jingle Bells parody song, with the Joker singing "Jingle bells, Batman smells, Robin laid an egg. The Batmobile lost the wheel, the Joker got away." Alright, you get the idea. Okay, too bad I had to upload this on YouTube and edit this later. As a kid, I remember my grandmother getting me the VHS tape of this episode for Christmas on a Joker cover VHS tape copy with 2 episodes along with the Laughing Fish episode. What's ironic is when the Joker is broadcasting his Christmas special, Summer Gleason opens up a present. She gets a Betty Boop doll. My grandmother passed away in 2009 from lung cancer, and anytime I watch this episode or see a Betty Boop or any Betty Boop in general, she always comes to mind all the time. This episode is one of my early memories and intro referencing Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life, which is my favorite Christmas movie. I did a review of that movie 2 years ago on my channel. Robin mentions the Batman when we finished up Night Patrol to watch It's a Wonderful Life because Batman said he's never seen it before. Holiday Nights was based on a comic from the animated series. They made and wrote comic books based on the show. When if an idea that was not made into an episode of the show, they figured, let's just make these stories into our own comic book series, the Batman the Animated Series, and New Adventures of Batman. I haven't read that comic in a long time. This one is a good one. My only complaint about it, they cut out the Mr. Freeze part from that comic. But oh no, another fun holiday episode. but it's mostly an anthology episode on different crazy holiday events. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy once again team up kidnapping Bruce, take a kiss and hypnotize him and go on a shopping spree. Once the lipstick is worn off, Bruce escapes and stops Harley and Ivy as Batman. The second segment is focused on Batgirl fighting Clayface. This one has a little comedy to it. Bullock and Montoya are undercover as Santa Claus as an elf at the mall. Harvey's the worst mall Santa Claus. But when little girl asks if he could bring her dad home for Christmas, when Harvey realizes who her dad is, that he arrested him a while back, but he does show a little heart giving her some money to buy something nice for her father. The last segment is a New Year's Eve special. The Joker plans to kill everyone before midnight. Batman stops him. After this crazy event, Batman and Jim Gordon meet at a bar pub restaurant, wishing each other Happy New Year, thankfully they survived another crazy year together. It's funny when Jim asks the waiter for a cheesesteak to go, about to ask Batman if he wanted anything, but Batman pays for his coffee and Jim's dinner order to go. Gordon's response is funny when he says, "One of these days, I'm going to beat you to the check." While these episodes may not be considered the best episodes, but I still enjoy watching them around every year around Christmas time for the fun whenever I can.
Number 5.
Heart of Ice. Despite the bad rep Mr. Freeze got in Batman and Robin, skip that movie, watch this episode, you'll be surprised, shocked, and amazed and think, oh my god, why are they not doing justice and using these type of stories and dialogue Mr. Freeze in a Batman movie? Mr. Freeze wants revenge and killed the man who was responsible for his wife's death for not letting him find a cure for his wife who was suffering from a rare disease. Ferris Boyle causes an accident, Victor Freeze becomes Mr. Freeze. Out of all the episodes, this episode has the best dialogue of all the episodes throughout the entire series of Batman the Animated Series. This episode won an Emmy Award for Best Dialogue, and it shows why. When Mr. Freeze tells Batman he once felt the sun on a nice warm sunny day, wish he could have that feeling again, but because of his accident condition, he can never go to the beach again. It shows how sad, tragic, and Mr. Freeze had misunderstood. All he wanted was to do was find a cure for his wife and to be happy and fall in love all over again. And again, it shows how humanized Mr. Freeze is. Mark Hamill plays greedy businessman Ferris Boyle. How ironic this was before he was casted playing the Joker throughout the entire rest of the series.
Number 4.
Matlab. This is another episode in the New Adventures of Batman series, but what the heck, I'm talking about this episode anyway. This is the first time we learned about Harley Quinn's background story. In a previous episode, it was mentioned that she was a psychologist at Arkham Asylum before she became a criminal. As a kid watching this episode, it blew my mind away and shocked me to see an episode showing how the Joker does not love or care for Harley Quinn. It was also the first time in my life as a kid watching this episode on an example of a bad abusive relationship is. Also how the flashback explaining how when the Joker first met Harley Quinn, he was just using her and manipulating her so the Joker could escape. When the Joker pushes Harley Quinn out the window, that just blew my mind and shocked me as a kid to see that. And the Joker says, "And don't call me Puddin'." You really feel bad and sorry for Harley Quinn at that moment. On a side note, Mark Hamill parodies and quotes his famous Star Wars line, "May the Force be with you!" I wouldn't be surprised if he improvised that line, to be honest, even though I have no, proof of that.
Number 3.
Catwoman Episodes. This is a miscellaneous, not just a particular episode. I love just about any and every episode with Batman and Catwoman. I love their chemistry, how Catwoman is a two-dimensional character, sometimes good, a thief sometimes. Her first appearance, Cat Claw, voiced by Adrian Barbeau, does a great job as the voice of Catwoman at first. She's a cat burglar, unlike Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman performance in Batman Returns, which I still do love. But they nailed the justice on Catwoman's portrayal around this time before Anne Hathaway and the recent Zoe Kravitz. Despite Batman being in love with her, he had no choice but to arrest and turn her into the authorities. After doing her time in prison, she's released from prison in cat scratch fever. Her cat Isis runs away. She goes out looking for her cat, comes across these thieves who are working for Roland Daggett, who are kidnapping cat strays and using them as experiments to make cats dangerous and ruthless. The law does not believe Selina because of her record. Only Batman believes and can help Selina. As the series went on, we see Catwoman pop up again. She was good for a while, but up until the end of the series, she ends up going back to her past old roots of being a cat thief and catwalk. Selina cannot run away what she likes and is good at being a thief. It just shows you sometimes people do change and sometimes some people don't change.
Selina feels she has no identity when she's not a cat burglar. Number 2.
Perchance to Dream, It's a Wonderful Life as Batman the Animated Series episode. What I love about this episode, Batman wakes up having a life that he could have had if his parents were not shot and killed in an alleyway by a mugger. His parents are alive, he's about to marry Selina Kyle, the woman of his dreams. Batman does exist, but he's not Batman. At first, Bruce is confused, then he thinks everything is fine and okay, and after all the years of pain, fighting is over. Just when Bruce thought and realized that his life was perfect and okay, he reads the newspaper is gibberish. Bruce realizes and comes to his sense that it's all a dream and illusion. I love how Bruce fights Batman in a bell tower. I love the atmosphere, the visuals of the thunder and the lightning, and how suspenseful it is. It's also a twist who is behind the mask. I don't want to spoil or give it away on this episode. Give it a watch. This episode is a great what-if story. This is what Bruce Wayne's life could have been like if his parents were not murdered. Also on a side note, last year me and my father reviewed the Maltese Falcon. I mentioned this was the first time I heard the famous line, "It's the stuff that dreams are made of." A classic episode that's still one of the best episodes of the series, and will be talked about until the end of time.
Number 1.
Okay, my number one favorite Batman the Animated Series episode. This one is a tough one. It's hard to pick a favorite one. This is just me, and it's a rare, unusual pick for number 1. Dreams of Darkness. The reason why I picked this one is because it was the first episode I ever saw of the TV series on a VHS tape copy with Batman the cover with the Grey Ghost episode. I love when Batman stops a mugger. Him and the thug both were exposed to Scarecrow's fear toxins. He refuses to take medicine because it will put him asleep for 2 days, not knowing when Scarecrow will spread the fear toxins in Gotham City's water supply. After getting into an accident, he ends up at Arkham Asylum because his condition gets worse. No one believes Batman. I like how Batman tries to find ways to escape so he can stop the Scarecrow when no one believes him. And heck, where the heck was Commissioner Gordon? Why did they not contact Commissioner Gordon for this situation? The Scarecrow look design is way better improved compared to Nothing to Fear. The parts when Batman has his hallucinations were really disturbing, crazy, creepy, and really, whacked. This episode was based on a comic, Batman Last Arkham, Batman Shadow the Bat, written by Alan Grant, which is a comic book I've never read before. Once again, this episode is another one to analyze and think of Nolan's inspiration for his Batman movies, especially Batman Begins. So that was my review of Batman the Animated Series. Like the video, subscribe to that bell button to get the latest updates on my YouTube channel. See you soon for more movie reviews and upcoming horror movie reviews this October. And go watch and have a Batman the Animated Series Batathon.